thinking about transformational CSR with what's really changed in the world, because we were hearing from members and others, things are different out there, and we landed on this iceberg metaphor, which is balance sheet, tangible financial assets above the waterline, intangible, non-financials, things like reputation, brand image, and goodwill below the waterline. And 20 years ago, or almost 30 years ago, much of a company's value was held in the tangible financial assets above the waterline. And today what we see is the intangible, non-financial component of that holds greater value. And we had this conversation yesterday in a room of CEOs, and one of the big accounting firms challenged this slide, saying, I don't really think so. And you know, this is the reason we're having this dialogue, and why we'd like you to go out and have this dialogue as well. Because this is a shift in the way we understand business. And as Matthew said it brilliantly at the beginning, we've got this huge opportunity following the financial crisis to point out that there is a big crack under the waterline that many people associated with the CSR movement saw coming, and that fundamentally shifts our understanding of the way things work. So this is the conversation that we need to continue to have. Not only that, but I like the iceberg again, because we can talk about the pressure on business leaders today. And this is where we connect what's changed in the world to what we're doing inside businesses through global issues, global pressures like energy, climate change, poverty, justice, these huge influences or pressures on all of us as individuals and as business leaders that are acting on the business, combined with increasing across the board stakeholder pressure. And this would be from our employees, consumers, media, government, insurers, investors, and so on. So you've got this real pressure coming to bear on the business. So how does that feel? And this is a slide that I really like because it makes us uncomfortable. That doesn't feel very good. And here we have a visual from the expo at Cannes, which really nicely ties together climate change with human impact, and really puts in our faces doesn't feel great. And it also ties in the generational element that often comes out in conversation around this subject. And so what do you do about that? As a leader, you need to find that sustainable space between financial and non-financial. And we believe firmly that if you can do this well, you are in a sweet spot and you can begin to transform. This really, there's two thoughts only on here that I want you to take away. This is another observation that we've had in our 15 years of working on this with over 100 member companies through many, many consulting projects. There's two levels that people are working at. There's the operational level. What can I do in my business to do less harm and take advantage of shifting market condition? But the second layer, which appears in firms that are engaging in transformation, is this understanding of how my business intersects with global issues. And that is, what are the unique characteristics and assets and business that I'm in, and how does that really come to bear in this more connected systems world that we're living in? And so there's a continuum, and we've defined this continuum. I'm sure you've seen other frames that might look like this. But this is to say very clearly that there are stages of CSR development that firms can move through. They do not have to move through them in a linear fashion. Compliance, operational, strategic, and transformational. We assess those against the integration of CSR in the business and the commitment to CSR as the other axis. And what we want to say here is when you hit transformation, you are really into breakthrough and are going to see a step change in results. So again, there's detail here that you can pick up in your handout, but this is to say we've seen this many times before, and we can define what that looks like. At compliance, it looks like staying out of jail. At operational, it looks like functional, siloed CSR, sometimes the beginning of a firm's journey would take place in the community investment department or in the environmental area. When you move to strategic CSR, you're really beginning to embrace full-on risk and opportunity, and holding an and both, sustainable and profitable frame in your mind. We also say back at the shop that this is where firms move from random acts of kindness to a more integrated, holistic approach to CSR. And then when you get to transformational, which is the focus of our work here today, you are understanding and connecting to global issues. Your firm likely is being led passionately from the top through a sustainability view of the CEO and the key stakeholders. And there's transparency and values-based communication and work going on there. So again, here's a detailed slide, which I put up just to show you that this work has many levels of detail and rigor and support behind it. So we've taken this framework of transformation and laid it across one of our key tools that we use at CBSR called our Good Company Guidelines Assessment Tool, which was developed about 10 or 15 years ago through a multi-stakeholder initiative, which really got very specific about what does responsible practice look like. There's a series of, I think, 72 indicators against this that we can assess firms on and now place them on this continuum of development. And so this is the summary slide around transformation. This may help you to frame up what are the elements that you need to be looking at and working towards. And the first one, and the most important one by far, is personal inspiration and mindset. We've heard this again and again this morning, and this is a very important area, and this is the access to untapped potential within organizations. And in our conversation yesterday with 35 CEOs, the one thing that I would have to say came through for me was when you get sustainability or CSR right and you integrate it to your business and you talk about it in a coherent fashion, you access unbelievable potential within your employee base and in your outreach to customers and consumers. And that's very hard to do, and that is the essence of what makes transformation. It's focused. Where is my business sitting within the environment, within the economy, and within the environment, and how can I then connect it to a sustainability or a CSR agenda and focus my energy through that lens. Very importantly, in the middle stream, this is the sustainability strategy and action plan. This is all the hard business nuts and bolts that we have to have in place regarding targets, goals, performance management, and so on. We're pretty good as business leaders at that, but it needs to be in place on the sustainability agenda. And then the third stream would be the collaboration and the change plan. We heard the word collaboration, systems, unity, coalition. Solving these issues is going to take collaboration at a level probably many of us have not experienced yet in our careers. That's one thought. The second thought is this is a fundamental shift of the business model, and it requires time and real focused energy and resource for the organization to shift its attention. We heard I've been at this for 15 years, 10 years, 5 years, and so on. And so what can you do with this? Well, what we would say at CBSR is embrace the new reality. It's happening anyways. And identify, take this simple framework and identify where you are in the continuum and make a choice about, are you happy where you are, or do you want to be part of a movement to advance your firm along the continuum? And consider the role that your business plays within these complex global issues, and reach out to stakeholders, CBSR and others, for support along the journey.